Hi everybody, Jo here again. How you doing? Now today, I'm doing a special card here. As you know, recently, I've really been enjoying the B7 size. And it's just amazing how much you can get on this small piece of card. And I love the fact that we can get the pack ready. And you get 20 in a pack. And believe you me, you can get a lot of cards done. My Christmas cards this year, B7 pack, job done. Seriously, especially with the new stamps, works so well on this size. So the stamp I'm coming in with is Fip, and this is a lovely stamp. Haven't used him for a while, so I thought it's about time. And I'm just going to stamp this gorgeous chap sort of here. And I'm using the VersaFine Clay Nocturne, the black, permanent ink of choice today. It's perfect for silhouettes, and you can do so much with it. Now, obviously, he is a silhouette, so let the ink soak in. Right, bird. Now, I have, as it happens, got my black fine liner. So, as it happens, he's managed to stand on there. But if he hadn't, I would just take my fine liner, look, and just elongate his little toes a little. But as it happens, we're all right. He's on there. Right. What I need to do is I'm going to decoupage this bit. So, scraps of card. Before we put this away, look, I need to ink up his lovely lantern. And on this scrap of card, and as you can see, I literally will always have one inked up, one ready to cut out. I just find it an easier system. And I'm going to come in with my stencil next. And the colours I'm going to use in the elements is the Flying Fig and the Mermaid. Right, stencil, dynamic. So when I thought about doing some stencil work, quite often, as you know, I like a diagonal across. But what I thought with this is almost like the stencil radiating from the design. So I'm just going to move these out a little. And what I felt with this is if I carefully chose an area, I might have to move my stencil round. This is almost like a swirl coming out from an area. And if you look, for example, here, I like this circly dot here because this sort of swirls out. Now, I just have to watch, don't go over there, but I think I'll be all right. So I'm going to put that there. And I'm going to start the largest brush, the number 9, and I'm in the purple. So this is a deep, this is your Flying Fig, so, or Flying Pig as it is in my head. And I'm just going to start, hence I'm starting over the lantern. Now, if you remember, I'm going to decoupage this, so I don't need to worry about adding colour on top of the ink. So I'm just going to go for that sort of area. And then I'm going to come in with my blue. Now, I've gone for Mermaid, but there are various colours that would work well for this. Sorry, excuse me. And I'm just going to start off on my craft mat there, just off the page. And because it's a silhouette, I can go over the bird, just around my beautiful figure, and just gently, gently, I don't want to go below his feet, but I'm just going to go round his head. And then I'm going to come back in with the purple. I don't need to add any more ink, but I'm just going to go over where the colours join, just to blend those two areas. And again, with the blue, he said the blue brush. The brush with blue on, and then if I lift that up, you see how we've then got this beautiful blend look between the two colours. Now, just before, I've got an extra piece of card and get my water spritzer, and we'll just spritz a couple of spritzes on that and get ourselves that free background, that two for one. So just come in with my Inky Binky. Now, this will do two things. It cleans my stencil, but also, look, it will give me a gorgeous background. And I don't know if you noticed, what popped in shot before was the one I did with my original card. And look at the movement there. And I could do a bit of a Freud moment and say, what can you see in the ink splat? But I love these. And these are great backgrounds when you just want, you're not sure where you're going to start off with or what you're going to do. So it's so useful to have one of those backgrounds in ready. If you're doing a journal, do it in your journal. So I said about the ink, and what I'm going to do is come in with my mini hill mask, just to ground, a bit of grounding here. And I'm going to come in with my purple that's on the brush and just see I may have enough to just give a light covering look. And again, it's a great way of using the ink that's on your brush and cleaning your brush. But I want a little bit more, I want to give a bit of shadow. So if I move down to a number 3 brush and a little tip here, the smaller the brush, the more condensed the ink will be. So you will get a darker ink. So again, I'm just going to pick the ink up from the lid. So when you're going smaller, just think if you want a darker colour, and I just want to make that shade. So if you've not got your pastel pencils for adding shade, this is a great way. So look, we've got the lighter colour of the whole area, and then we're just coming in with that darker colour. So your smaller brushes are perfect for that. And now I can put the lid on my ink. And then what I'm going to do is add a little bit of colour. And I'll show you, we'll colour our lovely, we're going to decoupage this. And for this, to add the colour, I've got my Zig pens and I've got the violet and the gold. Now, a little tip here. Remember when we've used the clean colour pens before? If we wanted shade, we've added nib to nib colour. So what I can do, because I'm going to make this area here gold, but I want a bit of shade. So if I take a little bit of the violet, so it's just darker on the nib look, and round the edge where I want the shade, I'm just going to come in with that darker colour. Just need to have a look, check I'm still in shot and you can see what I'm doing. Because you know I'm a bit of a tinker and I get a bit carried away. So round the edge where I want it a little bit darker, got a bit of something on there, we'll get rid of that. And then as I come further in, look, it goes back to the gold, and I'm just going to leave that white highlight. So we get, can you see that darker, just that bit of shading around the edge. So I'll do exactly the same on the wing here. Just pick up a bit of the purple, just to darken that edge there. And then, as I keep using my Wink of Stella, it will come back to the gold. And then I'm just going to pick up a little bit of the dark again. I know we're decoupaging this, but I always like to go around the edge, just so that if I cut it a bit short and you can see some underneath, I'm covered. So we'll pop. And if you're not sure, you can always clean, check your nib just on your copy or any scrap paper. But I know it's gone back to that lovely gold. So do check out the colours. There's some fabulous colours. I mean, I'm thinking Christmas. I've got the green and the red. So do check out the colours. Lots of lovely colours. Now, when I got to this stage, I just thought there was something missing here. Because I'm going to put my sentiment here, I needed it to balance a little bit. So that's when I just brought in this lovely little stamp. And this is Leaf 5, one of the minis. Now, the minis are so useful. And again, when you're starting off, you know, just add a little mini to your collection each time you put an order in. And I just want a little bit of stamping in this corner. And I think that that's enough. I don't want to overcook it. So we'll get rid of that again. But we'll come in now with some little finishing tricks. And I've got my lovely pastel pencils here. Now, I have cut out this already, so you don't need to see me cutting. But the good thing is I've got two here, look, ready to be cut out. And what I'm thinking is with the grey and the pastel, I'm just going to add a little bit behind, just to give that idea that there's a bit of shadow. And again, just smudging the pastel. If you want to add a little bit more shadow, obviously, with your pastel pencil as well, you can just add a little bit more. And again, just smudge it side to side. And then with the white, we'll add a little bit of sort of a wing and a bit of shape on the bird. And again, smudging just fixes it. So you don't need to use a spray fixative. We often get asked. If you were doing a whole piece in pastel, I mean, there's some gorgeous pieces of artwork with pastel. Yes, you would need to use a fixative. But for this small amount, just giving it that little bit of a smudge with your finger is enough. So you know me, I like to do the 2 bits of highlighting. First of all, with my pastel, and then with my lovely Uniball pen, just to add some more. And again, it's just that combination. And everybody's different, so however you want to add your highlights, just to emphasise that little bit of shape. Then I've got my lovely gold Signo here, and we've got this vine. Tracy's drawn this lovely vine that's just sort of winging its way down here. So I thought if I used gold for that, it just ties it all together. And then what I'm thinking is a couple more finishing tricks and you're done. I mean, it's such a lovely card. And as I say, you could put butterflies here, depending on how you want to, you know, take it. I think to have the basic design, but then to add a little bit more. Now, I'm thinking, and yes, I did choose one because you know what I'm like with these sentiment stickers, memories. And I'm thinking, I've got one with courage on and one with memories. So again, just pop that in the corner. Bippity boppity glue, a little tip. And just for me, I don't put the ink on the back here, because if I drop it, so I found it easier to just add a little bit of ink on my design. And again, it will dry clear. And another little tip, if you're worried about your work, where you've cut it out, having a white edge, just get your permanent black fine liner and just go round with black. And then, again, that's just another nice way. It just, these little finishing tricks, you want to make your work. You know, it's a nice simple design, this. Couple of stamps, a stencil, couple of colours, don't need a lot. But I think there's ways of making it look, you know, those finishing tricks. And I'm going to come in with the yellow sparkly Posca. You might want to leave it like this. I think even a little bit of script stamping in the background would work. But you know me, I like my yellow sparkly Posca. So give it a good shake, hold it close, and then I can just direct look exactly where I want. You have a word with your pen, you tell it to behave, and job done. And if I lift that up, look. Now, I think if you wanted to make this into a festive design, you could colour this in reds. You could even have a little bit of holly, maybe have a robin here, and maybe stamp holly in this corner. So again, it's easy just to change it up to however you want to take the design. Maybe try a simple design like this, but then give yourself a bit of a challenge of making it a Christmas design. Maybe you could make it into notelets. Do different colours, different stencils behind. Anyway, love and hugs from me, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.